Welcome, gentlemen. It's Sunday to the probably the final installment of the rant this year, mostly due to indifference and lack of caring. I could go on for hours about my luck this season in surf and turf, and as you know, other leagues I've already complained about. But let me just briefly discuss Damian Williams having the worst game of the season. The 1 week that I had to start him, 1.2 points, lost by 1.2. Crosby missed his only field goal inside the 40 in the last 2 years, lost by 1.2. And Jake Ballard dropped about 4 passes that would have made me the points that I needed. Just to be clear. But more importantly, since I don't really care about fantasy football, I'm going to talk about something else that really gets on my nerves, and that's the NCAA. Let me talk about some things first that the hypocrisy of the NCAA that exemplify the hypocrisy. Okay. A few years back, Fresno State basketball program was penalized by the NCAA. Jerry Tarkanian was the coach. They didn't like him. They penalized the basketball program for players getting free rice bowls. Yes, I'm staring at the screen because that's... Yes, players getting free rice bowls. USC gets penalized for something that happened 5 years previous to regarding Reggie Bush and supposedly what his parents did or did not get. It's pretty obvious that they did. But Boise State gets penalized for, Boise State gets penalized for, I don't know. Nobody really knows. Even ESPN in the headline said why. I don't know. They got penalized. Trying to keep them out of the BCS Bowl? Maybe. Okay. Let's move on to the teams that are not penalized as of today. Ohio State. You have faculty involvement. You have faculty knowledge of problems. And I say if you can prove the faculty knows about issues, that's something that should be penalized. No penalties for Ohio State, except for that their players were allowed to play in the bowl. The players who were the problem were allowed to play in the bowl, but they had to pinky swear that they would come back the following year, including Terrell Pryor, among others, who didn't keep their promise, and still no sanctions against Ohio State. Funny. Miami had the most widespread, their largest booster was paying players to hurt other players, namely Tim Tebow and others. And Miami, did they get penalized at all? A couple players got suspended. No sanctions against Miami. USC gets 2 seasons canceled and 15 scholarships over 3 years. And Miami, a couple players get suspended when you're talking about something that was known by... Okay, but let's move on. Auburn, apparently they're allowed to use players in national championship games that were their dad offered money, but since they didn't know about it, it's okay. Okay, but if Reggie Bush doesn't know about it, 2 years worth of penalties for USC. Now, the biggest and dumbest thing that I have heard on the radio or on TV is the argument that Penn State should not be punished for the incidents that have occurred. Now, let me ask you a question, and the answer is obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyways because it's a stupid question. What is worse? Somebody being bought a house? Or a child being molested? Is that a crazy question? Because I don't think it's crazy. USC loses 2 years of bowls. USC loses multiple scholarships because 5 years earlier, Reggie Bush received money, but yet the argument that people make is that the people at Penn State aren't responsible. They didn't do it. They shouldn't be penalized. You're right. They shouldn't. But when you have an NCAA program or an NCAA that penalizes people 5 years later, absolutely, 100%, they should be penalized for what Jerry Sandusky did. So you're telling me if Jerry Sandusky bought somebody a house, then people would be penalized? But now, doing things to children on campus with pretty obvious cover up by the school, that shouldn't be penalized? That's not an institutional problem that should be penalized? If Hayden wasn't sitting here, I'd be cursing right now because I've done that before and I'm not doing it again. But I would be angrily cursing at the monitor. Hayden, do you think that Jerry Sandusky should cause penalties to Penn State?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know how much clearer I can make this, but if the molestation of children isn't the NCAA's problem and chicken rice bowls are, then that's not something I want to watch. So adios, NCAA. Adios.